Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and in this video, I wanted to try a challenge where I keep playing online ranked battles in Pokemon Sword and Shield until I finally lose a game. So the goal was to go undefeated for as long as possible. Right now, we are playing the Series 13 rule set, which allows for unlimited, restricted, and legendary Pokemon. It is really chaotic, but the team we're using here is a team that recently reached rank number 1 on the ladder, built and piloted by a player called Adam, who I've linked down in the description below, so huge thank you to Adam for the team. I figured that this would be a fun time to try out a challenge like this, so excited to see how things go. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it, and let's get started with the challenge. Ooh, we've got Sableye and Zamazenta here. Otherwise, 4 of the 6 Mons in Calyrex, Kyogre, Groudon, and Yveltal. So, inherently we have a potential speed advantage with Whimsicott, but that can be negated with Quash from Sableye. Whimsicott here also doesn't have Moonblast, so I can't really just easily KO Sableye. Sableye might actually be a huge nuisance here. Wide Guard from Zamazenta is also something to worry about, as well as coaching. I'm thinking something like an Yveltal Kyogre lead here. The idea is to try to get rid of Sableye as quickly as possible. I honestly don't think we bring Whimsicott here because they have dual Darks in Sableye and Yveltal. And Tailwind I don't think is actually that important if I can get a speed advantage with Yveltal. And we have Choice Scarf on Kyogre. So I think it's Yveltal Kyogre lead with Groudon in the back. And then for the last one... Zacian's okay. It's probably Zacian because otherwise my Yveltal matchup here is kind of shaky. So I'll go with that. I'm very curious to see if Sableye or Zamazenta come out in this one. I think both of those are pretty cool picks in this format. And I think, yeah, one of the things is there's so many restricteds that are now more viable in this format because you can obviously have unlimited restricted. So Zamazenta, Zekrom, for example, can do some cool things. But they're going to go with Sableye and Yveltal. Okay. Yveltal could Tailwind on turn 1. My goal is really to just eliminate Sableye here. I think the idea of swapping Kyogre out into Zacian and then max Airstreaming is tempting. They have a faster Yveltal here, which is concerning because I need to just double check whether or not we were max speed. Haven't played in a couple days. Yeah, we're not. So they're probably max speed on Yveltal. It's okay. I'm down to Dynamax, Airstream into Sableye. Question is with Kyogre, I could switch out into Zacian here and give it a speed boost, then protect Zacian, Airstream onto Sableye again the subsequent turn. Yeah, I think I'd rather conserve Kyogre here because I think from my opponent's perspective, it makes sense to click Fake Out into Kyogre or just Quash Max Darkness or Max Airstream it immediately. If Yveltal goes for a Tailwind, so be it. It will be kind of annoying to deal with, but the thing is I can get Zacian a +2 speed after turn 2 thanks to Max Airstream. So they're going to commit Dynamax on Yveltal. That works for me. Okay. Yeah, this is why I didn't really love Whimsicott in this matchup, especially because against Sableye and Yveltal, I'd have to probably protect turn 1 to deal with the potential Fake Out, and then on turn 2, Tailwind, but then whatever's next to the Whimsicott might just get hit by Quash by the Sableye, right? So it's not like I could just overwhelm the Yveltal with offense immediately. This is also why Pokemon selection-wise, I think I had to bring the best 4 to bring Yveltal. I don't think Yveltal is necessarily the easiest matchup, especially if I index towards Whimsicott and Calyrex here. But that's why I'm not bringing those. We're going to trade Dynamaxes here. What's pretty important, though, is trying to give this Zacian a speed boost. Yeah, so then I can outpace Yveltal in subsequent turns. Yep, they go for Fake Out. Cool, that works for me. That was such, prevent a potential Water Spout. They go for their own Airstream. That's fine. Yep, onto Zacian. Perfect. Okay, I'm very happy about how turn 1 played out, ultimately, I would argue. I think turn 2, the play I really lean towards is just protecting Zacian and Max Airstreaming, unless we somehow crit KO Sableye or their eject button here. But yeah, Sableye survives. We get a speed boost critically onto both. So Zacian's the fastest Pokemon now, but I have to worry about Quash from Sableye or Will-O-Wisp. We don't see an eject button, so the play I really lean towards most is just going for another Airstream on a Sableye here and then just protecting with Zacian. It's fairly obvious, but I don't think my opponent really has too much counterplay to this, and I think stalling out Dynamax on their end only benefits me. And their Sableye can't really do anything into my Yveltal. That's Actually, one of the reasons why I didn't want to bring my Prankster Pokemon in Whimsicott, because I was like, well, if I bring Whimsicott, I won't be able to actually hit either of their dark types with my, priority moves. So there's Will-O-Wisp into the Protect. Beautiful. They just go for another Airstream. Fine by me. Yep, onto my Yveltal. We're just kind of trading right now. Zacian obviously is super good into their Yveltal. And I'll be at +2 speed with both of my Pokemon this turn. So basically, I'm thinking what we can do right now is maybe even target around the Yveltal, because Yveltal is not a huge threat into my Zacian, right? And Max Airstream / Max Darkness plus a Behemoth Blade or Play Rough for close combat from Zacian, I think should KO anything that's coming in right now. So the critical thing here is knowing, okay, well, Sableye can't really do anything into Yveltal here. Doesn't really want to switch out either because you don't want to eat up a Max Airstream with whatever's in the back. So most of the time, my opponent is just going to target the Zacian slot there. They're going to bring out their own Groudon. That's fine. I guess my only question here is if you're Assault Vest Groudon, whether or not you can actually take a Max Airstream plus a Behemoth Blade. That could be kind of annoying. I could Darkness here to try to guarantee a KO. Is AV Groudon really bulky enough to survive Airstream plus Blade? I don't expect it to, and I think getting a speed boost that Zacian outspeeds Yveltal is actually really nice here. So yeah, I'm just going to double up on a Groudon. We'll see how much defensive investment they have, if any. I guess the other thing that could be interesting here is their Yveltal having Max Flare, because now they've set up the Sun. Okay, I'm fairly sure an Airstream should KO that even if they're Assault Vest. Yep, they just go for a third Airstream, that's fine. I think part of the dynamic of this matchup is basically they brought Sableye, right? And Sableye has not really been able to accomplish much for them, whereas I just brought an extra restricted Pokemon, and more importantly, I brought my Zacian out to consistently give it speed boost before my opponent could have a Pokemon that really threatens me. So yeah, this game I think was basically gave us a very early lead off the speed advantages, and we're nearing the end of the Dynamax era here, but one of the biggest things about Dynamax was how you can utilize speed control, specifically Max Airstream. Max Strike also, but that's not used as much just in general. And in this game, just getting Zacian out immediately gave me a significant advantage, I'd argue. And they actually brought Zamazenta as well, which is pretty cool to see. Okay. I actually have Taunt on the Yveltal, so I actually think this is not a bad position to just go for Taunt onto Zamazenta. Zamazenta is a Pokemon that often likes to go for supportive attacks like Wide Guard and Coaching. So something like a Taunt here just shuts it down immediately, and I can just go for Play Rough now onto Yveltal. We could still lose this if they actually had Max Flare or Heat Wave on Yveltal this entire time. Like, I miss Play Rough on Yveltal, Yveltal Heat Wave KO Zacian. That would be scary. But Play Rough gets the one-hit KO onto Yveltal. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm really pleased about how I played this game. I think we had pretty linear decision-making overall. It was really just turn one where we had to debate what we wanted to do against Sableye, but yeah. Essentially, we just negated, any value from Sableye in this game. And yeah, they brought it, got a Fake Out off with it. That didn't really matter. Got a Will-O-Wisp off with it, but it went into a Protect, so that didn't matter either. Bash into Yveltal here, and that's not a KO either. Cool. And I think one thing that was scary in this game was, their Yveltal being faster than mine, but if you look at the rest of their Pokemon here, like, they didn't really have too much to deal with Zacian, and so being able to just get the speed advantage immediately with it was really huge. So, just going to Dark Pulse in close combat now. Yeah, I end up forfeiting. I think the main thing in this game was, like, not getting baited by bringing Kyogre, or just attacking with Kyogre on turn one, because if I actually just stay with Kyogre on turn one, I eat up the Fake Out plus Max Airstream, I think I'm in a significantly worse position, because then the Yveltal has the Max Airstream advantage against Zacian, and that's a really big deal, because their Yveltal was also faster than my Yveltal, right? So one thing that could be concerning is if they gave something in the back a speed boost before Zacian was able to get a speed boost, right? So that's one other thing to consider. So solely just switching out into Zacian on turn one immediately put me in a much better position. And yeah, I think the thing with Sableye in a format like this is it's really cool, but you're giving up a restricted for it. It's very supportive, right? It's not really going to get any damage off, so you need to get value out of something like Quash or, Switcheroo, Trick Eject Button, yeah, just Will-O-Wisp, for example. And Sableye is a Pokemon where it does get access to a lot of moves. Fortunately, no Ally Switch came out there. That's actually, like, maybe one of the moves I was more worried about. But as a result, yeah, I couldn't actually really do anything because it was fairly telegraphed what it wanted to do outside of potential Ally Switch. So, yeah, let's look for another. Next game here, and we are up once again against a very similar team. Although the last one, we had 4 of the 6 same Mons, but they ended up bringing 2 completely different ones. So The key difference here is they have Incineroar, we have Groudon. I think Assault Vest Groudon actually could be a really solid Dynamax option here. There are a couple things I'm worried about, though. Their Whimsicott having Fake Tears, and Calyrex Shadow Rider having Will-O-Wisp. I think Yveltal teams are generally one of the ones I don't like playing against as much when using this team, because I think Yveltal is quite solid into a lot of our Pokemon. I think we drop Calyrex once again. Like, they have Yveltal in itself, and that's a pretty solid Dynamax option for them. Like, if I brought Calyrex over Zacian in the last game, I probably would have lost, actually, because, like, I needed Zacian, really, to deal with their Yveltal. So I'm thinking Whimsicott, Zacian, lead. Could be Whimsicott, Yveltal lead as well, though, to, like, start airstreaming. The fear is if they lead their Zacian, right? Could be Groudon here. Okay, Whimsicott, Zacian, Groudon. I really want to bring Choice Scarf Kyogre, but I think my problem here is, like, not knowing who I want to Dynamax and when. Like, part of me wants to lead Yveltal and just Dynamax it, but if they lead, like, I don't know, Whimsicott, Zacian, my Yveltal's in a really bad spot, right? They could just, like, Moonblast Behemoth Blade it for a KO. The idea of, like, I think, like, Assault Vest Groudon here is really powerful into their entire team. And so I'd rather play towards that than Yveltal here. They go with Zacian and Yveltal. Okay, I am fairly happy about that, I would say. The thing is, turn 1, it's a pretty obvious Tailwind plus, like, play rough onto their Yveltal. They could just protect their Yveltal and then Behemoth Blade with their Zacian. Huh. I think I'm actually interested in the idea of Energy Ball plus Behemoth Blade into their Zacian, because if Zacian protects, turn 2 I can Encore it. I guess the question is how bulky their Zacian is and whether or not they have enough to, like, survive even after I get a little bit of chip from Energy Ball. They actually don't protect or switch either Pokemon, nor do they Dynamax Yveltal, which makes me a little bit worried Yveltal is going to aim for a Tailwind here. And I'm not quite confident Energy Ball is actually going to KO Zacian there. It survived with a little bit more than I would have liked. So we're going to trade Behemoth Blades there. I mean, that's okay. If Yveltal is just Tailwinding, I get to stagger my Tailwind, and that's not bad. But yeah, let's see if Energy Ball can KO here. Oh, it actually does get the KO. Okay, that's actually a really pleasant surprise. Getting rid of their Zacian is so critical here because I have Yveltal in the back. They actually just Oblivion Wing. Okay. That looks okay for now, but I very realistically can lose both of my Pokemon immediately here if their Yveltal is Sucker Punch. Whoa, it's Life Orb Yveltal. Okay, Oblivion Wing, Foul Play, Sucker Punch, Protect could be the moveset. So the question is whether or not I want to play around a potential Sucker Punch. Oh, Calyrex coming out here creates some mind games as well. Because what if it Trick Rooms on me, right? That Trick Room would be kind of annoying. So, I don't have to Tailwind here. I actually could protect this turn. But the problem is that they just Astral Barrage and Max Airstream. I actually think them Trick Rooming with Calyrex isn't a bad play, though. I'm going to go for the Tailwind play here. And play rough. Okay, no Protects, no Dynamax or Switches once again, so we should KO Yveltal if we don't miss. And they actually don't go for Sucker Punch, which is pretty huge. And the thing is, actually, now if Calyrex Trick Rooms, I can just Encore their Trick Room, but they could Dynamax to get around it. They just Astral Barrage. Okay. I mean, this is a really fast-paced game so far, but I think I don't mind this. Kind of comes down to what they have in the back, because I've got Yveltal and Groudon with Tailwind up, but if their last one is Kyogre, they win the Weather War, which could be bad for me. Yveltal's obviously really good in a Calyrex, but I'm staring down a +2 Calyrex right now, so I feel like I need to deal with that. I think the way I'd probably deal with it is just Dynamax Groudon, Dark Pulse, Max Rockfall. Or max Quake. Quake is fine. I don't know. Like, I don't mind how this has played out so far, because they didn't bring Whimsicott. It is Kyogre as their last one. So, I do lose the Weather Orb, but I think that's okay. Never mind. That is got to be Choice Scarf Kyogre then, right? Yeah, because I Tailwinded. Well, that's even better for us. If you're Scarf Kyogre, you're really not that scary right now. Unless you have Hyper Beam into Max Strike, but now I just assume that you have Focus Sash on Calyrex. I'm down to Dynamax, Dark Pulse, and then Max Quake into Calyrex as well. This covers for Dynamax Calyrex. Worst case is Calyrex protecting here, but they just end up forfeiting. Yeah. I don't know. I was very surprised to see my opponent like never protect, never switch, or go for speed control, really. I'll gladly take it. I think they probably maybe weren't expecting their Zacian to just faint on turn 1, so maybe that was part of it. But yeah, that was obviously really fast-paced, so I'll take it. I think the main thing here is, once again, maintaining the speed advantage relative to our opponent. They never really had a clear Dynamax option as well, and ultimately, even though our teams are really similar, right, they brought Calyrex Shadow Rider into a matchup against Yveltal, whereas I didn't bring Calyrex and I had Zacian instead. I also had Whimsicott, right, so even though we had 5 of the 6 same Pokemon, I brought Whimsicott, I brought Groudon. They ended up going with Kyogre and Calyrex, and I think Pokemon selection-wise, it very much favored us. And then they didn't bring Whimsicott, so they didn't even like put on pressure in terms of outspeeding me. So yeah, a fast-paced one, but once again, speed is the name of the game, and we were able to get a pretty good speed advantage here thanks to Tailwind. Our third match here, and this is the rank number 1 team that we featured fairly recently. So we know it's Wide Guard on Lunala. Trick Room on Whimsicott. Whimsicott doesn't have Protect either. So how do we want to approach this? We played against this team pretty recently as well. I think generally Whimsicott Yveltal is okay. What am I worried about? Like maybe Whimsicott Charizard from their end. It's the Lunala with Wide Guard I want to worry about, but they might not even bring Lunala. I actually think Whimsicott Calyrex is fairly interesting here as well. Like, the thing is, I'm worried about Tailwinding as a Trick Room, so turn 1 I want to find a play where I just knock out Whimsicott, ideally. Something like, with Whimsicott and Yveltal, I can Airstream Energy Ball at turn 1, which I think is decently good. Dynamax Groudon strong here. Honestly, all of our Pokemon are good here, so the main thing is figuring out who to drop. Whimsicott Yveltal. I don't think I want to bring Groudon in this one. I think I want to just bring my fastest Pokemon, like Kyogre and Calyrex. But things actually will be pretty interesting here if they did indeed bring Lunala, because they can Wide Guard on me. So, yeah, if they have, like, back Lunala, this could cause some problems for me. And that's where maybe Groudon would have been a little bit better to choose. But, yeah, battle of the rank number 1 teams that we've featured so far. You know, I've seen some comments, players were like, oh, where people were like, yeah, of course these teams, like, got to rank number 1, you're using such strong Pokemon. But this is Series 13, right? Like, if you want to be consistent, you just have to use really effective strategies like can give you a huge advantage immediately. So they're going to go with Whimsicott and Groudon. Okay. Like, basically, I don't want to Tailwind here because I'm worried about them Trick Rooming, so the play I lean towards turn 1 is just Energy Ball plus Airstream into the Whimsicott slot. What this does is, if you Trick Room, I just KO you immediately. If you Tailwind, so be it. Groudon would have to go for Max Rockfall into Whimsicott to KO me. Which I don't think is necessarily like an unlikely play here. That's the one thing I think that worries me right now. But any other play here, and I think we come out of turn 1 pretty positive. Like, especially because my Yveltal gets a speed boost, right? So then the subsequent turn, I can Max Guard Yveltal, Tailwind with Whimsicott, turn 3, go for like a double up onto whatever replaces the Whimsicott slot, or like Max Darkness Groudon, lower its special defense. And this is part of the reason why I wanted Kyogre and Calyrex in the back, because with special defense lowering, we can just snowball that fairly quickly. So, yeah. I think this is a really effective lead by my opponent. I think we don't necessarily have an easy way to beat Groudon immediately, right? Like, because the Assault Vest Groudon can just Dynamax. It puts on a lot of pressure into Dynamax Yveltal. We've used the Assault Vest Groudon with this team plenty as well, right? And in this format, it's pretty cool that, like, Whimsicott Groudon's actually a fairly viable lead, because Incineroar and Intimidate in general is just far less common. But They actually don't go for Tailwind with Whimsicott, so they're trying to Trick Room here. Critically, Groudon did not Dynamax as well, so I will just get a KO onto Whimsicott. But I think it's actually quite smart of my opponent to not Dynamax immediately here, because if they had committed to Dynamax, then you'd be stuck with Assault Vest Dynamax Groudon with a speed, with me having the speed advantage. And I think that put my opponent in a really tough spot. So Whimsicott faints. They actually go for Stone Edge, okay. And yeah, that actually doesn't do that much thanks to Yveltal being fairly bulky here, and of course being Dynamaxed as well. So, let's see. What are they going to bring out? Regardless, I have such a major speed advantage right now, and I'm fairly happy, but my opponent, like, not Dynamaxing last turn I think was actually really smart. Now I can Tailwind pretty easily. Do I even need a Tailwind here? Like, Zacian or Yveltal does have a speed boost, but I think I still should, just to ensure that. Because, like, the question is the game even going to go on long enough for it to matter, right? So I think Tailwind and Max Darkness here is acceptable because it lowers their special defenses. If they KO Yveltal, it's just a free switch into Kyogre. Water Spell picks up a double KO. So, I think, like, one thing you have to consider in this format is thinking, like, 1 or 2 turns ahead, which is really the case for any Pokemon format, but I think in this format, games are really fast-paced and volatile, especially when with so much speed control and Tailwind and Trick Rooming. So mapping out, like, not what I just want to do this turn, but how I set myself up for knockouts in the subsequent turn, I think is really, really pivotal. Okay, so Whimsicott sets up Tailwind. They're not going to protect, that's fine. Smart to not protect there. If they did, I would just be able to Encore them. But yeah, very critically here, I get a special defense boost on both Pokemon. So we'll see if they decide to like Max Quake with the Groudon to potentially regain the speed advantage. Or not the speed advantage, sorry, the special defense advantage. I talked so much about the speed advantage throughout this episode that that was like the only thing that I was thinking about. So Yveltal faints, but that's okay. Yeah, to my opponent's credit, I think very smart to stagger their Dynamax by a turn. I'm going to go for Max Steel Spike. Perfect. Okay. I'm fairly sure Energy Ball plus Water Spout here should just be a KO, and we know it's an Assault Vest Groudon as well, so that's the beautiful thing about like getting your opponent to Dynamax an Assault Vest Pokemon. With us having the speed advantage and us lowering their special defense, we get the perfect position to bring into Kyogre. It would be fairly interesting if they had Lunala in the back, right? Because if you had Lunala here, you could maybe... Ooh, actually, even if you had Lunala, they're in a really tough spot. Because essentially, like, Groudon can't protect here, right? So I can always Energy Ball Water Spout that slot. If Zacian stays in, it just faints to Water Spout, thanks to the special defense drop from the Max Darkness. If you switch into Lunala, Lunala just breaks its Shadow Shield, eats up a Water Spout. Zacian comes back in, and then I have Encore potential throughout the endgame as well. But I think if you have Lunala here, they have to just give up Groudon, switch Zacian out into Lunala. I'm not, like, 100% sure whether or not Water Spout KOs Groudon. If I didn't Energy Ball... Like, I'm Energy Balling that slot, essentially, right? Okay, Zacian protects. Beautiful. That puts them in a really tough spot, because now I can just Encore them with the Whimsicott. But yeah, I was thinking, like, one play I could have made to cover for Zacian switching out into Lunala was actually clicking... Energy Ball into the Zacian slot, although... No, Kyogre's Choice Scarf here anyway. No, but Whimsicott got a speed boost from Max Airstream. Yeah, so actually that play would work. Funny, I was like, no, it doesn't work. Never mind, it does work. So, let's see if Lunala's in the back. It's their Kyogre. Cool. Okay. I'm okay with that. You have a special defense drop. Water Spout should just KO you. No need to Encore here, I think. I think Energy Ball into Kyogre and Water Spout here is honestly acceptable. Because Astro Barrage at this point from Calyrex should win me the game. So, a lot about this game was, I think, one, I had a slight advantage just knowing some of my opponent's sets, since, you know, we had just featured the team that they're using. So, knowing that you have, like, Wide Guard Lunala and not falling into that trap, although they didn't even bring it. Knowing that it was Assault Vest on the Groudon, and then knowing it's Mystic Water on Kyogre makes this game a lot easier for me. So, Kyogre protects here. We just get Water Spout, and that KOs Zacian. Yeah. Cool. I didn't feel any reason to deviate from this play, because I was fairly confident I would KO Zacian there. So now I can just keep... Actually, it's slightly more optimal to Encore here, although it doesn't really make a difference. Kyogre's never winning the 3v1 from this position. I think, yeah, one thing that's been a pretty key trend throughout this episode is basically having, like, fairly strong turn ones in which, like, yeah, I just, like, can outpace my opponent pretty considerably afterwards. And I think that's one thing this team does really well. Like, having Choice Scarf Kyogre and having Evoltal means that, like, Whimsicott Tailwind in itself is important, but then you can further have, like, fast Pokemon, right? Whether it be Evoltal Airstreaming or Kyogre just naturally being faster thanks to the Choice Scarf. So, yeah. And, like, you could obviously just click Energy Ball in this position, but I didn't think Energy Ball plus Spout gets the KO anyway. I'm actually curious whether or not it would have. Either way, Kyogre's forced to protect, doesn't get it. It's going to go for another protect. Tailwind peters out. Yeah, that's fine. Now we can just Energy Ball and Water Spout. And that's a good game. I think this is a pretty tough matchup for them. But yeah, I think back Lunala could have been interesting. I think they didn't have a super solid Dynamax option, and by considering getting Groudon to Dynamax meant that my Kyogre was in a really strong position. So ultimately, took advantage of the fact that we knew it was Assault Vest Groudon and Kyogre. Like, that's where the Evoltal for Max Darkness special defense drops is really nice. So it's kind of fun to have this episode relative to the previous one, because the last one, you know, we showed off just how good like the Encore and Whimsicott can be and how strong some of those, you know, strategies are. But in this one, we haven't leaned as much into Encore, but more so off just getting major speed advantages on turn 1. Rank 32, and they've got Dialga. It's funny because I feel like we've seen so many Incineroars in Team Preview, but I can't remember the last opponent that actually brought it out in battle against us. Dialga actually scares me a considerable amount here, but we do have close combat on Zacian as well as Max Quake on Groudon, so we definitely have answers into it. 4 of the 6 Amons once again, but I have Tailwind. This one is interesting, because, like, part of me does want to bring Whimsicott, because Whimsicott plus Groudon here means, like, Groudon can just put in a lot of work immediately. Incineroar Dialga here would actually be a really strong lead into this, though. The question is how confident they feel bringing Incineroar into this matchup. But I think I'm down to play towards Dynamax Groudon here with Zacian in the back. Once again, I don't feel great bringing Calyrex into a matchup where there's an Evoltal. They do actually have a fair amount of Water Spout resistances here with Kyogre, but I don't think my Evoltal is really that good either, so it's between Kyogre and Calyrex. And I always lean towards Kyogre a little bit more in matchups like this because it has the Choice Scarf, so I can, you know, just outspeed them naturally unless they get good speed control. It's a shame that the safety goggles on Evoltal didn't really end up being relevant in our games with this team, but it's a good example of how you might just have something niche to give you a significant advantage against certain matchups, right? For example, like, it's not like I've really ever felt like we needed another item on the Evoltal, truthfully, right? Yeah, we could have something like Black Glasses, but the Life Orb's already committed on Calyrex, for example. Assault Vest is committed. So it's one of those where it's like, okay, the more important items are on Pokemon that really need it, whereas with Evoltal here, Safety Goggles just means should we play something like an Amoonguss, we can get a pretty significant advantage. They're going to go with Evoltal and the Dialga, which I think personally is a really favorable lead for us. It's fun seeing this lead as well, by the way, because this is the restricted duo that David Kotesh brought to the 2022 World Championships, where he got the into the top 32. It's one of my favorite teams from Worlds. Definitely in my top 3 favorite teams from Worlds this year. Basically, the play I want to make turn 1 is Tailwind plus Max Quake here, but it could be Shuka Berry on Dialga. It could be, I don't know, like Focus Sash. They could Trick Room with Dialga, so we'll see, but I think this is just my best play generally. If we thought Dialga were to Dynamax, I don't know, it could be like Tailwind Max Rockfall Evoltal, but if Evoltal is really bulky, I'm not even confident in Rockfall KOing, truthfully, so Dialga's just looking pretty good. Getting a special defense boost against both of these Pokemon is valuable. Evoltal could Dynamax, but then you would Airstream or Max Darkness. I don't think either of those are really scary. So we are definitely in an okay spot. They're going to switch out Dialga. That's a great play. Into Kyogre. Okay. So what is good for us in this matchup is the fact that I've got the Zacian with close combat to potentially deal with Dialga. We're not going to Dynamax Evoltal. Yeah, I think, like, basically what my opponent's probably going to try to do is stall out my Dynamax and then Dynamax with Dialga. Close combat's a lot of damage into it, but it's not enough for a KO, so I have to keep that in mind. But I'm hoping we can snowball this game fairly quickly in the early turns. Like, next turn, I can just Energy Ball Kyogre and then Max Rockfall into Evoltal, right? They'll probably go for Oblivion Wing onto Whimsicott, maybe Foul Play on a Groudon. It could be a Taunt or a Snarl, but neither of those are really that scary. I think by them leading Dialga and Yveltal, Max Quake was really safe, right? Because imagine if... Oh, that just gets the one-hit KO. That's bad news for them. That was a crit. That crit likely mattered here. Like, even if Kyogre doesn't have any bulk, I don't know what the exact damage roll is, but I would never expect to guarantee a one-hit knockout on a Kyogre. So, yeah. That honestly puts them in a really tough spot. Because I think what they're trying to do here was essentially stall out Groudon's Dynamax, and I think that was the right approach given the lead that they brought here. The point I was trying to make, though, was that, yeah, by leading Yveltal Dialga, I can have a really safe Max Quake into the Dialga slot, whereas if he was like Dialga Kyogre or Dialga plus anything else, like the Incineroar, for example, then they pressure me potentially with the switch in, and that's really scary, right? Groudon comes out from their end. That's fine with me. Could split my damage here, just go like Energy Ball, Rockfall. Energy Ball, we have Kyogre in the back. Yeah, I think Energy Ball and Rockfall in this position is fine. I want Whimsicott to feint after this turn anyway. But I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to come back now that we just got a free KO on a Kyogre on turn 1. They actually don't protect either Pokemon. I was thinking about that. Or sorry, they don't Dynamax either Pokemon. I was thinking about like doubling up onto one slot. We get another critical hit here. So RNG is definitely on our side, but truthfully, I think we'd be in an okay position even if I didn't get either crits. That's Sash Yveltal? That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, so Yveltal's going to feint after this turn. I could have doubled up onto either slot here, but I figured something was going to Dynamax this turn. Okay, they Tailwind plus probably Precipice Blades here, which I think is a smart play. And they miss Blades. It's one of those games where it's just like everything goes in our favor. Yeah. When you get games like this, by the way, it's always really important to evaluate, like, how much did I need the luck? And if I didn't get any of this luck, would I have won? And I think that I still wouldn't have really changed how I played this game, truthfully. We can just bring Choice Scarf Kyogre now. Yeah, like, I really don't think there's too much I would have done differently in this game, to be honest, right? Like, my opponent, I think, like, turn 1 and turn 2, there were a lot of different plays they could have made. Their unwillingness to, like, Dynamax early on, I think, put them in a pretty tough position. And I think the lead matchup gave me a pretty significant advantage. So, of course, I'm acknowledging that I had fairly good fortune, but I think, you know, even if the Precipice Blades hits there, even if we don't get the crit onto Kyogre, even if we don't crit Energy Ball on Groudon here, I don't think the position would actually be that different, truthfully. So they get Tailwind up. They've got 3 turns. I've got 2 turns here, so it's a pretty free Water Spout plus Max Quake here. I could have brought out Zacian first, but I don't mind bringing out Kyogre. And they actually just forfeit, so yeah. Ooh, rank 11 for the next one here, and they've got Kyurem White. Very cool, very cool. Let's see. Zacian, Calyrex, Kyogre, Kyurem, Whimsicott, Incineroar. Kyurem is really scary here. I actually think it's very good into a lot of our Pokemon. The best way to deal with Kyurem is really our Zacian or Dynamax Groudon. I just don't think... Are you really going to lead Kyurem into this team, right? Like, do you feel confident that I'm not going to lead Zacian? I think the lead matchups will dictate this battle very heavily. I think I want Whimsicott, Groudon, Zacian, and then for the final one, maybe Calyrex. Kyogre just doesn't do much into Kyurem, but Water Spout's always still okay. I don't love Yveltal here. It's mainly I would bring it for Calyrex, Shadow Rider. This one's kind of hard. Okay, I actually think I'm going to go with Whimsicott Groudon here with Zacian, and I don't want Calyrex or Kyogre. I'm actually going to bring Kyogre here because basically they have Tailwind and we have Tailwind, right? So with Choice Scarf Kyogre, I can outspeed both their Zacian and Calyrex even if we both Tailwinded, which is pretty significant here. But I don't have that much experience fighting against Kyurem White in this format. It should operate fairly similarly to Kyurem White in Series 12. So that's going to be Zacian and Calyrex. Leading Whimsicott Groudon here would have been stronger, I think. Oh, I did lead Whimsicott Groudon. Never mind. I'm too good. For some reason, I thought I committed to Zacian. This is still interesting because they could go for something like Trick Room with Calyrex. Kind of down to just Tailwind Precipice Blades here, but I guess the other question is, should I just Dynamax Groudon immediately? Getting a special defense boost is actually so good into my opponent's team, no? They could protect Will-O-Wisp here, right? I think Dynamax and Groudon was the correct play. I went Tailwind Precipice Blades. Okay, Zacian does protect those, so maybe it was an okay play. Encore from Whimsicott's looking quite good now, going into this next turn. Okay, we Tailwind, Groudon Precipice Blades. Don't miss Calyrex, cool. Could be a Will-O-Wisp coming out here. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Turn 2 now, I can Encore the Zacian and Shadow Claw the Calyrex for a guaranteed KO. Encore this, trapped you in. That might switch out. So it's interesting, like, considering clicking Precipice Blades here. Because I think it KOs Calyrex anyway. They look like they're at around, like, 30, 33. It might be a damage roll on whether or not it KOs, but based off how much the first one did, I feel fairly okay with this. So I do risk missing here, right? That's one thing to watch out for, potentially. Okay, they don't get baited into Encore. Nicely done. And they bring in Incineroar. Ooh, okay. That's where Shadow Claw would have helped me a little bit. That's okay, though. Like, I basically didn't want to Dynamax Groudon here in fear of the Will-O-Wisp. It's cool to finally see Incineroar make an appearance here. And Calyrex actually protects. The Precipice Blades actually ends up being an okay play. So, happy to see that. Now I can actually Energy Ball and Shadow Claw the Calyrex next turn, which is pretty sweet. Okay, I missed the Incineroar there, but burnt, I'm intimidated. It's not like it would have done that much damage, so can't complain. We're just going to Energy Ball and Shadow Claw here. The interesting thing here is, like, who do I Dynamax? Because, like, I'm still fairly Kyurem weak. The thing is, like, just getting chip damage on Incineroar would have been nice there, because then it's in KO range from a close combat from Zacian, even at neutral, or Water Spout from Kyogre will KO, but it might be like Focus Sash, for example, on Incineroar. So, okay, they fake out into Whimsicott, works for me, we flinch. And -1, Burt Shadow Claw should still get the KO here. And that's why you run Shadow Claw. Okay. You bring out Kyurem now if you have it, I think. Because you've managed to get Groudon, like, fairly weakened here. But it's actually Kyogre. Okay. So it's just Incineroar, Kyogre, and Zacian in the back, which I'm okay with, honestly. I think that's fairly good for us. I have the speed advantage right now for one more turn. So we can actually just protect here and always just set up another set of Tailwind, which is cool. I think because they didn't bring Kyurem, like, Dynamaxing the Choice Scarf Kyogre is also is actually an acceptable play here. Yeah, so I'm honestly down to just... it's like even a burnt Groudon here actually isn't terrible. This is where if I had hit the Precipice Blades earlier, I'd be thinking actually about Dynamaxing Groudon a little bit more. But I think we just max Kyogre. Even if they're Assault Vest Kyogre, it's fine. Incineroar stays in, which is okay. Kyogre doesn't Dynamax, though. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I got so lucky in that last game, so can't really complain about a couple misses there. They just Ice Beam and Parting Shot? Interesting. Okay. I guess that works. This Incineroar should be at much lower HP, but it's fine. I'm honestly just so happy to not see a Kyurem here. That was my biggest fear. But it's interesting because, like, both of us have gone through this entire game without Dynamaxing, which is definitely fascinating to me. And, like, they have one clear max option in Kyogre, right? But I'm happy to at least get another set of Tailwind up here. A set of Tailwind, that's probably not right grammatically, it's just Tailwind. Yeah, I'm down to just Tailwind, I think. I don't know. Like, I don't really want to switch Groudon out right now. I could finally Dynamax it, but I'm at -2 and burnt. And I don't really want to switch out into either Pokemon in the back. Like, we got a quick Pokemon advantage. We get the speed advantage now. They're probably finally going to pick up a double KO here. Right? They just Precipice Blades and Max Geyser. I said Precipice Blades. Behemoth Blade. You know, if this is Assault Vest Kyogre, I might be in some trouble. I think that actually... Yeah, this is going to be a close endgame, actually. Yeah, Zacian doesn't protect. You can't really protect at this point because you know I have the Encore, right? And if you protect, then... Well, I suppose you could always KO the Whimsicott still. That's a crit onto Zacian. So, we've had a lot of good crit RNG today, which obviously I'll take. That one definitely may have mattered. I think my idea was always to just bring out Kyogre and Dynamax it, though, and Geyser into the Zacian slot, and then try to play the 1v1 against their Kyogre. So, we'll lose both Mons here, which is okay. Would I have any... Like, what was my best max option in this game? It was Groudon, but I think they played very, very nicely getting the Will-O-Wisp as well as the Intimidate support in this game. And that gave them a pretty nice advantage. This turn is pretty huge. I think, actually, where the crit may have mattered against Zacian is if Max Geyser KOs, but they took actually, the crit fairly well there. I'm curious how much bulk it has. Like, I could just Behemoth Blade Kyogre here and Max Lightning it. I think the play I lean towards most is Max Geyser into Zacian, protect my Zacian. But their play, I think, is protect Zacian, Max Lightning my Kyogre. Okay, I'm actually down to just Behemoth Blade into the Kyogre then. See if they switch into Incineroar. That works for me. I snipe Incineroar off immediately like that. Yeah, this turn, like, basically, in my head, I was like, okay, even if you get a one-hit KO onto my Zacian, like, Dynamax Kyogre is looking fairly strong, but this is where the crit may have mattered onto their Zacian. That was a really huge crit in my opinion. Okay. We'll get a... This is actually where if it was... Do we see a Focus Sash on this team yet? If it was Sash and Incineroar, this actually could cause me some huge trouble. And that's where double missing Precipice Blades earlier hurt. Like, I'd rather trade, you know, just hitting both blades or even one turn of blades for the critical hit here. So, I'm very curious because I think me protecting Zacian is really obvious here. So, I think if I were my opponent's shoes, I actually would have read into Zacian protecting targeted Kyogre. That is a really bulky Kyogre, though. Whoa. Okay. Ha ha ha, Pasho Berry. Yeah, that's where hitting the blades would have helped. I mean, does it survive this? Max Geyser, base 150? Probably, right? Probably max HP, max special defense. Oh, it still does not survive. Wow. Okay. The Pasho is mainly for, like, water spouts, I would imagine, but they do end up geysering here into the right slot. Okay. Does that KO us? It does. Yeah, basically in my head, I was expecting my opponent to say, okay, if you protect Zacian here, I Lightning into Kyogre, then the next turn I can just fake out Geyser you. But if I had actually just protected there, we would have been in a pretty sweet spot going into this next turn. Two turns of Tailwind. You have no Tailwind. I think their Zacian pretty much always protects here. I don't expect a Lightning to KO their Kyogre anyway. And there's a chance Geyser can just KO even through Protect here, so I'm down to just Geyser Zacian. Yeah, they do Protect though. I don't know, I didn't want to Max Lightning their Kyogre, set up Electric Terrain for them to do more damage with Max Lightning onto me. And if Geyser KOs here, we should always just win the game, but I expect it to survive with like 5%. Yeah. They do have Max Lightning. How much does this do to me? Oh, this is really close. Because I think it's Assault Vest Kyogre on their end. I mean, I expect my Kyogre to survive an attack here, right? And if it's the AV Kyogre, I kind of need the stronger Max Lightning right now. So I'm going to Lightning Kyogre here. Even if Kyogre, if it is indeed not Assault Vest, I would get Lightning through Protect and then Origin Pulse to finish off both Pokemon. Oh, wait. That's fine. Unless, like, Quick Attack KOs me next turn, which it shouldn't. Like, Lightning here should KO their Kyogre, right? Okay. And I can just Thunder their Zacian. Woof. Okay. Oh, rain does stop, though. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So, do I think Ice Beam's KOing Zacian is the question? It should, I'm fairly sure. Actually, I could just Water Spout here, right? I'm just worried about crit Quick Attack. Yeah, there's no way Zacian survives Ice Beam here. I just need like 5% of damage onto it. Basically, I'm worried like crit Quick Attack puts me at like 5 HP and then Water Spout just doesn't KO Zacian, but they don't go for a Quick Attack, okay. So we just get Scarf Ice Beam off. Cool. Oh, that was an intense one. Yeah. It was cool to see Pasha Berry and Incineroar. I think that was actually the best use of Incineroar I've seen so far, but we got them into a decent position because I didn't Dynamax Groudon. This game would have been completely different if I Dynamax Groudon, and maxing Groudon was really tempting because their team is so specially oriented. But in the end, by not maxing and conserving a max for Groudon, it put us in a much better position. So, yeah, the win streak continues, so let's keep going. Next match here, and this is a Lugia team. Cool. Lugia, Grimmsnarl, Amoonguss. This is definitely a lot bulkier than most of the teams we've played thus far. Kyogre, Zacian, Groudon. Earlier, I was talking about how I was sad we never got to bring out Yveltal, but I think this might be the best matchup for Goggles Yveltal. Yeah, I really like Yveltal here. I don't think we even need to bring Whimsicott, but I guess Lugia Zacian lead scares me a little bit, because Lugia is actually fairly speedy. But basically what I'm trying to debate is whether or not I can get away with not bringing that. Like, what if I just go Yveltal plus Calyrex, right? Astral Airstream turn 1, I don't think is terrible. With Kyogre Zacian in the back. I think I'm down for that. I want to bring all my offense here, because Lugia is inherently a fairly bulky Pokemon, and with it being fairly bulky, I want as much offense against this as possible. I dropped Groudon here. I don't think it's a bad pick, per se, but if I'm not getting tailed up with Whimsicott, the Groudon is likely going to get outsped by a lot of my opponent's Pokemon, which I don't love. So I'd rather just go with like the fastest and strongest 4 that I have. Grim and Kyogre. Okay. Well, I feel like I'm playing Series 12 right now. This is a fairly good lead from them, I think. Calyrex not being Focus Sash tier causes me some issues, I think. Kyogre's faster than my Yveltal. Oh. So you're Scarf Kyogre. Well, that's really good to know. I think turn 1 I'm down to just Dynamax, Max Airstream into... I mean, truthfully, I want to target Kyogre here. Because they might just click Water Spout. And then it gives Calyrex a speed boost, and then the next turn I can just Airstream Kyogre again, Astral Barrage. I also want to bait out, see if Grimmsnarl has Sucker Punch here, so I'm down for this play. The thing about this game is, like, Grimmsnarl does not apply that much offensive pressure, actually, which is... At the same time, it actually kind of does, just because I have Yveltal Calyrex. If you actually have like a Dark-type attack, that could do something. But we shall Dynamax Yveltal here. Okay. So no protect, no switches from their end. Protect from my end. Yeah, they actually just try to Thunder Wave. Okay, that works. And Water Spout. Cool. This is really good because now Kyogre's Water Spout next turn is so weak. Actually a ton of damage on Yveltal still. Yeah, now I outpace with Yveltal. That really did not do very much damage. Wait, that's not Assault Vest Kyogre, is it? Are we just like... Does that have a lot of special defense investment? I guess that could be the case. Darkness should KO thanks to our ability, though. So I'm down to Darkness. I don't really have a safe switch in is the problem. To a Thunder Wave. Actually, for that reason here, I'm down to Airstream to get another speed boost. Because then Calyrex, even if it gets hit by Thunder Wave, is in okay shape. And then Astral Barrage here. Because I think they might play towards Dynamax Lugia in this game, right? That would make the most sense to me. Yeah, I just thought we'd have done a little bit more into Kyogre, but Kyogre obviously has good special defense, and the Yveltal here doesn't have a... Whoa! Dynamax Kyogre at this position. I didn't think about that. I think that's a really cool Dynamax, actually. I really respect my opponent for going for that. But if they Thunder Wave and I KO Grim with Airstream Astral Barrage, I actually think I'm in great shape. So we're just hoping to not get fully parried on the Calyrex right now. Because Yveltal will Airstream to get Calyrex back to neutral speed. Okay, so we get a max Airstream here onto Grimmsnarl. You know, we're really not doing as much as I would have liked with Airstream. This is like finally one of those games where I would have, you know, really liked something like a Life Orb on Yveltal, I think. Yeah, it's not a ton. Oh, they actually Hailstorm, though. That's interesting, because it means you're targeting Yveltal, and I think Yveltal survives this. Yep. That's huge. Okay. And if that is Choice Scarf Kyogre, I can just pick up a double KO right now, right? The only thing is, like, do I respect Thunder Wave Para? I mean, if I don't get parried here with Calyrex, I can just max Darkness, Astral Barrage, pick up a double KO, and just win the game off that, likely. But if I get parried, Yveltal can always guarantee the knockout onto the Grimmsnarl slot. I think it's better to play around the potential paralysis here. So I'm going to Darkness onto the Grimm slot and Astral Barrage. Oh, that works. Kyogre max guards, okay. Light Screen? Yeah, that's fine. Wait, so was it not Choice Scarf Kyogre? I thought Yveltal here was supposed to have enough speed investment to always outspeed, unless it's Choice Scarf Kyogre with Protect. We actually don't KO Grimmsnarl there, but I actually think that benefits me. A Para here actually wouldn't even be terrible for us, hilariously enough. But no Para, okay. Wait, so... Kyogre has Protect, so it's not Assault Vest. Is it just Choice Scarf then? Because, like I said, I think the Yveltal should have enough speed investment to outspeed max speed Kyogre. So Scarf Kyogre with Protect? That would be really interesting because, yeah, then it does allow you to max guard like how my opponent just did. Okay. Either way, though, I think you can see the advantage of Yveltal max air streaming in this episode where, yeah, we were able to negate some of these speed drops, which is pretty critical. Zacian just comes out. Okay, works for me. Dynamax ends now, which is cool. Don't really need Max at this point. Got Scarf Kyogre in the back. I expect their last one to be Lugia. I'm just so worried about getting full paired on Calyrex right now. Because, like, you're at -1 special defense. Light Screen is up, actually. Kyogre just protected. I mean, I think I want to Oblivion Wing and Astral Barrage here into the Kyogre slot. Yeah, I definitely didn't expect the max guard there. I am curious if it is just 3 attack Scarf Kyogre with Protect. Or if I'm just misremembering the Yveltal's EVs here. Okay, we get Oblivion Wing to heal back just a slight amount. It's actually more than a slight amount. Ah, we do eat the Para. Okay. I can't complain about that, though. We were parried for so many turns. It just sucks, because getting it off here would have put us in such an amazing position. But now I actually lose both Pokemon. I think it's still okay, because it's a free switch into Zacian plus Kyogre for me. So, like, we can just Water Spout Astral Barrage. And if they were Scarf Kyogre, then they're locked into Water Spout here. Which isn't that scary. So I think it's still totally okay, but Astral Broadside would have just KO'd Kyogre, gotten a ton of damage on his Zacian, enough where one more attack guarantees the KO onto it. But when you get paired for as many turns as I did, I really can't complain about something like that. Like, the approach I could have taken in this game was just knocking out Grimmsnarl, right? If I just protect Airstream turn 1. My problem was I didn't want Kyogre to get, like, 2 full-powered Water Spouts off against me, but I guess I could have just Airstream Kyogre turn 2, but then I'm leading Grim out in the field, right? So... yeah, maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive in killing Grimmsnarl. I also just didn't expect the Kyogre max in this game and thought they might play towards Dynamax Lugia instead. Okay. We're just going to go for Scarf Water Spout here. I think it's just Blade. I don't really have a reason to go for anything else. Yeah, Blade. They don't have a Blade switch in. Blade is just so strong here. Should maybe be Zacian Protect, sacrifice Kyogre, get a free switch in into whatever your final Pokemon is. And if your final Pokemon is Groudon, this becomes a really interesting game. And that's where if I had knocked out Kyogre first, then Kyogre wouldn't have KO'd Calyrex, and thus I always win the Weather War. Based off how they're playing, I actually do feel like it is Groudon as their final one, so yeah. Kyogre actually just switches, though, huh? And it is Lugia. Okay, I'll gladly take that. Let's see if Zacian protects on their end. It doesn't protect, okay. So we get Water Spout off here. I'm just hoping we don't Speed Tie right now with Zacian. If we don't, this should be amazing for us. But we do. Oh. Okay, that's not good. Maybe it's okay. Because I should KO them. Yeah. This was Max Speed Zacian, right? If I remember correctly. I just haven't played the game in a couple of days because the last couple of videos I posted I had pre-recorded before moving. So, yeah, a little bit rusty here. Okay, Kyogre comes out. Yep. I just want to quickly double check some stuff here. It's like Kyogre, 156. Yeah, okay, so it is Choice Scarf Kyogre on their end. We know that for a fact. And I was Max Speed Zacian. Yeah, okay, so I'm not crazy here. Yeah, so our play here is actually to Water Spout and Protect here. We gotta make sure Zacian doesn't faint. Water Spout KOs their Kyogre, even if they... I guess they could just Thunder me here if they were to win another Speed Tie. But okay, we get the Spout off first. Alright, that should be game over. Nice. Goodbye. I don't think Lugia can win the 2v1 from this position, or 1v2. Oh, with Recover, it actually... does it heal up to Multi-Skill? I think it's just under. Okay, yeah. Should be enough then. Even if it healed up, I don't know, maybe it would have been enough. There were 2 turns of Rain, so if they had Protect, they could actually stall out Rain and, like, Water Spout PP stall me as well. But now Spoutum Behemoth Blade should KO. I'm very curious about the whole the full Lugia set here. And what the item on it is. It looks really bulky. Because I'm so used to seeing, like, Weakness Policy Lugia sets, or maybe Calm Mind Lugia. But a bulky Recover set, definitely not something I'd considered in this matchup. So, Blade gets the KO onto Lugia there. Cool. Okay. The win streak continues. Let's think about this game, though. Yeah, I think my opponent made some really cool plays, like the Dynamax Kyogre, for example. Yeah. I hope that was not my Wi-Fi. Okay. I was like, that'd make me really sad. Yeah, Dynamax Kyogre, I think, was really cool. The way they played it. But we got a lot of damage onto it immediately, right? We knew it was Choice Scarf, but Choice Scarf Kyogre with Protect is really interesting. And yeah, like losing the speed tie was a little bit scary. We got full parried, but even getting full parried, even losing the speed tie, we still were able to win the game, right? So Pokemon's a game where you're just trying to put yourself in the best position where even if things don't go your way, you can still win. And once again, I certainly can't complain about any luck here given the previous game. Like, I'm mainly just thinking about the double crit game. That was crazy. And yeah, with Calyrex, and if I'm parried for 3 turns, right, the odds of me getting parried one of the 3 turns is obviously decently high. It was more just like that was the one turn where I really hoped to not get parried, whereas the other 2 turns if we got parried actually would have been okay. But yeah, we've won another one, so we'll keep going. All right, game number, what is it, 7 at this point? Xerneas, Groudon, Calyrex, Regieleki, Incineroar, Gastrodon. This actually almost feels like a Series 12 team just with the random Xerneas. Okay, no ghost resistances or immunities other than Incineroar. Ground is really good. I mean, Xerneas is really scary here, I think. Like, Regieleki can blow a lot of my things up as well. And Gastrodon can yawn me. I do have Encore with Whimsicott here. I'm thinking maybe Whimsicott Groudon lead. We really need Zacian for the Xerneas. I mean, Scarf Kyogre here is so good if we eliminate Gastrodon. Calyrex Astro Broad's not bad either. I could even Dynamax Kyogre in this game potentially. Yeah, I'm kind of torn between Calyrex and Kyogre in this one. I think I'm going to go with Kyogre. Especially because I have Energy Ball and Whimsicott. Like, I'm hoping they lead Gastrodon here, or, like, you know, like, carelessly switch it in as I Energy Ball slot, and we just, like, snipe it away. That's kind of what I'm going for here, I think, ideally, but we'll see. Xerneas, I think, is a fairly big threat with Geomancy. Regieleki Xerneas is really scary, but they're going to go with Incineroar and Calyrex. Okay. Something like Fake Out plus Will-O-Wisp immediately onto Groudon here makes sense, but I think what I can do is actually just turn one, protect Whimsicott, switch Groudon out into Kyogre, then the next turn just Energy Ball plus Water Spout and try to, you know, nail Gastrodon on the switch-in if they brought that. It would be fairly interesting to me if they brought Instinct, Calyrex, Gastrodon, and Xerneas, though. But yeah, I think I'm okay with this. Protect, switch out into Kyogre. They might just read into Protect and Parting Shot here. They might just click Astro Barrage. I'm just fairly worried about Will-O-Wisp, and I think AV Groudon can just destroy Xerneas if that's their final Pokemon. And since we have Energy Ball and Whimsicott, positioning Kyogre in here is fairly strong for us. But there is a fair amount that can go wrong with this turn, right? If they just Parting Shot into Groudon, and like Astro Barrage or even Trick Room, things can get dicey here. I just, after getting Groudon burnt previously in this episode, really don't want it to eat up a Will-O-Wisp. Okay, no switch. So there's Protect from Whimsicott. There's Will-O-Wisp. Incineroar does not click Fake Out, which is a really smart play. And the reason why they don't really need to do that is even if I Tailwind, assuming you're Sash, beautiful play by them. Beautiful play. Nicely done. The thing is, this play is also relatively safe, because even if I end up Tailwinding on turn 1, unless you're not Focus Sash on Calyrex and I just Shadow Claw you, like, the only way I could really get a strong turn 1 is if I Tailwind Shadow Claw Calyrex and they end up not being Focus Sashed. But so many Calyrexes are sashed, I'm just not going to make that play really ever in a best of 1. In a best of 3, I'd consider it if I, let's say, found out that suddenly you don't actually have Sash on it, on the Calyrex, but in a best of 1, yeah, it just doesn't make too much sense. Groudon does just come out immediately, so I'm thinking there's actually no Gastrodon, or they maybe know about this team and they're kind of being careful about Energy Ball. Either way, that was a beautifully played turn 1 by my opponent, and the reality is I didn't really have too much of a way around it. Tailwind. I mean, as painful as it is, I might just have to stay in with Kyogre here. Man, I'm at risk of losing both my Pokemon immediately right now. Oh, they don't Dynamax though. Interesting. Okay, so that's definitely a lot more damage on a Groudon than I would have expected. It still won't do that much of your AV, like maybe 40%-ish. Even less. That is wild. Seeing Water Spout do such little damage, and it's Snarl as well, so very akin to the World Championship winning Calyrex. Okay, Kyogre's in a terrible spot right now. It should be Assault Vest Groudon, given the damage. The Heat Crush and a Whimsicott. Yeah. I think my opponents played this game very nicely. Okay. I think now I can go into Groudon. The difference, by the way, between clicking Fake Out on Parting Shot turn 1 is huge in this game. And my opponent, I think a lot of players there would just Fake Out Whimsicott to be safe, but my opponent recognizing, hey, I don't really need to deny you Tailwind on turn 1 was a really good play. And the reason why it was so smart is because they got to win the Weather War. So much about trying to win this game is positioning Kyogre into a good spot. But now I've lost Whimsicott. I don't know if Gastrodon is going to actually be their final one, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. I did get Tailwind up here. They might switch out into the... Incineroar slot. Yeah, this is really bad for us, I think. Because, like, Kyogre is Scarf locked, and it's at -2. Yeah, I think I switched into Zacian, but I think they kind of just win by, oh, I switched the wrong thing to Zacian. Yeah. It was not intended. I meant to Precipice Blade, switch Kyogre out into Zacian. But this turn was really tricky. I didn't really see a very easy path to winning this one, honestly. Groudon switching maybe actually gives me a chance? That's interesting. Okay. Not the switch I expected. But I'll take it. Oh, I'm probably just getting burnt on Zacian, no? I could have Shadow Claw the Calyrex there. That would have been really sweet. But now I'm probably just eating up another Will-O-Wisp. This Calyrex was so good into what we brought in this game. It's really interesting, right? Because, like, against, like, I don't know, Incineroar plus Calyrex, Yveltal would have been fairly solid. By the way, my play of switching Kyogre out into Zacian there and staying with Groudon would have only worked if I Shadow Clawed there. But maybe I should have just, yeah. Like, at least that gave me an opportunity. If I'm my opponent now, I'm clicking Fake Out into Zacian and Will-O-Wisp into Kyogre. Basically, I think if I want to win this game, it has to be Dynamax Groudon that's fairly untouched by Incineroar and Calyrex. I'm amazed at how good my opponent made Will-O-Wisp, Snarl, Calyrex look here, by the way. They played it amazingly. Like, huge props. No Fake Out once again. Wait. Okay, at first I was like, why am I outspeeding Calyrex? But we're Scarfed. They go just for Astral. You know what? I will take that. I think if Kyogre faints here to Astral plus Burn, this is actually exactly what I'm looking for, which is getting a free switch into Groudon, but that does not KO me. Oh, man. Incineroar plus Calyrex has actually been a nasty cycle to break through. And part of the thing is in this game, like, because my opponent had Gastrodon, I felt like I had to bring the Whimsicott. But maybe Yveltal over Whimsicott would have been a stronger pick for me here. And there's Xerneas finally. How in the world do I win this game? They've just, like, made all my... Like, I've never seen a support Calyrex use so well in this format. It is just ultra impressive. Okay, I think my main way of trying to win this game is hoping for crit Behemoth Blade on a Xerneas if they like try to Geomancy, but they might just protect here and like Will-O-Wisp the Kyogre slot. Yeah, no protects, no switches. Okay, so get Behemoth Blade. I mean, it's good damage in a Xerneas, that's for sure. Okay, they do just go for Astral rather than Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, I mean, we're not out of it yet, but I'm in a really bad spot overall, I would argue. Especially because, like, my Tailwind's running out. I think my opponent played this so well, though. Like, I have no shame losing this. It's definitely the most awkward matchup I've had out of, what, the 7 games we've had today. So I didn't have a very clear approach from the beginning. And I truthfully think the way they handled this was masterful. I needed to deal with Calyrex a little bit quicker because the Snar and Will-O-Wisp combination was just way too much for my team to deal with. And, like, yeah, getting my attackers burnt here just doesn't do me any favors either. I mean, they could just Will-O-Wisp Groudon now. KO Zacian. Honestly, you could just Dynamax and Starfall here as well. Oh, actually, you shouldn't Starfall. Okay, I think my slide out here then is they miss Will-O-Wisp on a Groudon, and then they, like... Yeah, but they're maxing. Okay, with that, I don't think I ever win the game. That's the right move from them to make. Yeah, max Xerneas. Well, the interesting thing is actually you can't burn me. So if they went Starfall plus Will-O-Wisp, if I crit Max Quake on a Xerneas, I think there's actually still a slight chance of winning thanks to Kyogre being able to Origin Pulse in the late game. But to me, the MVP for my opponent here was this Calyrex. They played with it so well. So Groudon's going to max here. This is where if he had Max Steel Spike, it'd actually be pretty sweet. I guess they could always like forget that they're setting up Misty Terrain here potentially with Xerneas as well. That would be sweet. That could actually give me a slight chance of winning as well. Yeah, it is Max Starfall. Okay, on a Groudon. I honestly really expected to survive that thanks to Assault Vest. So that's the power of Xerneas. That's really impressive. They're probably just Starfall plus Astral Barraging there, to which I really have no counterplay. Yeah, I got wrecked here, and like my opponent just played such a beautiful game. Like, just literally, if they go for Fake Out rather than Parting Shot on turn 1, it's a much different game. And so like you could see how like skilled they were, right? Because they didn't like they assessed the situation really well pretty much every turn in this game. I'd say the one missed opportunity I had was the turn I timed out. Like I could have just clicked Shadow Claw onto Calyrex because they made a switch that I wasn't expecting. And then, like, since I was so far behind in the game already, I needed to find some crazy plays like that to actually try to come back. But, yeah. Now, Xerneas just gets a KO, and then Astral finishes things off. So, that was a very dominant win by my opponent. It makes me really happy to see Xerneas thrive here. And if you look at how my opponent's team is composed, it's very much designed to protect Xerneas, right? Like, you've got Regieleki, which can Dynamax to blow things up. You've got Calyrex with Will-O-Wisp and Astral Barrage for support to enable Xerneas to get that Geomancy off. And Incineroar is not that common of a pick in this format, but on this team it's so useful because it allowed my opponent to cycle in and out. So if I were to replay that game now, like knowing, you know, my opponent's 4, let's say I would maybe bring Yveltal into the matchup instead, or even my own Calyrex, although I don't really love Calyrex given that it's not even that good into Incin plus Sash Calyrex. So Yveltal would be interesting because I can max Airstream and Darkness with it. But yeah, I think they had Gastron and Regieleki in team preview, so I wanted to bring Whimsicott to potentially cover for like Gastron, for example. So I don't think it was the easiest matchup, but I think my opponent also just outplayed me both in terms of Pokemon selection and in terms of actual play in this one. So huge kudos to them. That is finally going to end our win streak here. So in the end, I think we finished, what, maybe 6-1 or so? Either way, it was a really, really fun time. I was just going to record a regular episode, but we kept winning, so I was like, might as well make it one of those, you know, this video goes on until I lose. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the team once again in the description below if you want to try it out. Leave a like if you enjoy, answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.